Hello and welcome to the next ReeVlog. I've actually recorded one in here recently that I went to upload but it didn't upload, and then there was an error with it uploading when I next connected to the internet to upload it, which meant that it still hasn't uploaded. It's been a few days since then. Whoops. So I still intend to upload it, but it's going to come out probably when this one is also uploaded. So that one was pre-Halloween, this one's post-Halloween, so post-Happy Halloween. And I'm going to try and avoid talking about many of the things in that I talked about. Because I recorded it in this room, and there's lots of things in this room, and a lot of what I said was pertaining to that. So we're just going to ignore that for the most part here today. Ignore me, I'm just doing like some very light stretching-y, warm-up-y, mobility-y stuff. Nothing major, just some intuitive work really, whilst I do this. So, if I'm not going to talk about the things I talked about in the last one, then what am I going to talk about? Well, thanks for asking. I am going to be talking about several things, probably, but the first one is going to be Halloween. I didn't do anything. I woke up, I got up, I made food and stuff. I played a board game virtually on my tablet. So using Steam Link, I loaded it on my computer, played on my tablet in the dark for hours. And then that was just sort of a trial run because my friend wanted to play it later and I'd never played it on there before. It was my second ever game, playing against myself, so I got to sort of learn it a bit better. Yay! And then I got up, and on my computer I played a game there. So I was stood up for a long time, but I felt pretty terrible having been playing on a screen in the dark for hours without having really done anything else. I'll admit the food I made wasn't super healthy. It was garlic bread pizza. You know, it wasn't a good combination, but I was like, I need rest. And I really did. I needed rest. And that garlic bread pizza I just had to microwave, so it was super easy, super quick. And I was aware when I made it, I was like, this isn't super healthy, but it's a one-off, you know? So did that, got up, grabbed some water. Then when I played that game with my friend, that took 5.5 hours. I was stood up at my computer for pretty much the whole time. I did sit down for a couple minutes here and there when my friend had to go do something, and I was just sat on the call thinking what my next move would be, right? So, in that respect, did nothing yesterday, but it was Halloween, and I booked it off work in case I got invited to anything, which I didn't. But I think that having that sort of level of rest was actually very good for me. This might look a little and sound a little weird. Don't mind me. Oh yeah. So, whilst it wasn't productive in any way, I had fun talking with my friend, playing the game, learning the game on my own was some mental activity at least. But yeah, I really noticed today that I do feel a little worse than I usually do after a day off, and that's likely because I didn't go for my walk, I didn't have the same nutritious food and stuff. I did still have my supplements and whatnot, and I did drink a reasonable amount of water, but not as much as I usually would. Overall, I think that it was a day reasonably well spent, and I am very much happy that I did it. I definitely feel a lot better now, having, got up, had my supplements, had a cup of tea, had another cup of tea, poured a third cup of tea, 2 of which are green. The other one was like a special tea thing that my grandfather gave me, that has a bunch of different types of tea and stuff in it, like nettle leaf, 2 different types of green tea, goji berry extract, etc. And so yeah, that's not too bad. And T3 green tea here is going to be useful. And I've eaten a bit healthier, today so far. I had like, what have I had? Had a wrap. And some meatballs. So not incredibly healthy, but slightly healthier than yesterday, you know? And I think that whilst I'm incredibly full, that's more than I usually eat in like a sitting, and it was in one sitting. I think that it's going to be good fuel overall, and not the best, but better than yesterday. And then I've got soup out ready for tomorrow, so I can have that before work tomorrow, which is going to be really healthy, especially in comparison to yesterday and to a lesser extent today. I've got blueberries in the car ready for work in a little tub, so I can have those whilst I'm there, which is obviously pretty good. And then, yeah, I think that Halloween was reasonably well spent. It's not how I would have chosen to spend it if I had like lots of options, but you know, my friend wanted to play the game and I was like, yeah, well, I've got Halloween free, let's do it. So we did. It was good fun. The game is War of the Ring. I think I mentioned it in previous vlog. Played the physical one when I went to Somerset last weekend. It's very good, highly recommend. Anyway, today I have not yet done my daily exercises, but I have done over 1,000 words in writing. I think it was 1,290. I finished chapter 16. So chapter 17 is going to begin soon, tomorrow, effectively. I'll be writing that tomorrow. I'm here rather than at home because my flatmate is playing Mothership, I believe, with some of their friends in the communal area. And when I do my daily exercises, I tend to make some like odd noises from time to time. Usually it's breathing difficulties that are verbalized. So it's like I'll be panting or whatever, and I figured that's probably not the best like first impression to make with her friends. So I decided I'm going to come here to do that, which is also given me this opportunity to vlog. Usually my mother would be here as it is a Saturday. However, she is currently out shopping, which gives me this opportunity. Then I don't remember specifically when my last vlog was. I think it was Wednesday, perhaps. It might have been Thursday, but whatever. Kung Fu this week went reasonably well. I've got 3 more weeks there before I'm back off for work again on the Wednesdays. So I'm looking forward to those. I need to get some practice in today as best I can before I go to work. So should be able to do a little bit. It depends partially how long it takes for the vlog, for the dailies. If I need to pop to the loo, etc. Could delay things. And then get crack-a-lacking. Some of which I might do outdoors, but I am conscious of the fact that I do have to go to work later, so the things where it's like roll around on the ground, I don't want to get too muddy, because it's kind of unprofessional, but also it's not that bad. It's going to be dark anyway, people probably won't see things for the most part. There usually aren't that many people that I encounter anyway. Potato, you know. Nowhere does it say that you can't be dirty, but also you need to be professional. But then it's sort of autumn, it's wet, part of the job is going through muddy areas, so you're bound to get muddy anyway. So we'll see. It also depends on energy levels. Weirdly, my brother has been asking about my chronic fatigue status recently. I think it might be because I recommended a supplement to him, and he was curious as to its longer term effect, because at the time I'd only been using it for I think about 5 days. And he's like, okay, cool. And he asked whether I think I'll get back to normal levels and sort of a rough timeline. And I was like, probably 2027 is a rough estimate based on like current progression, but also how it's slowed down, and factoring in the fact that as the part of that slowing is probably increase in stress at work, because that's not going to help. So if I can then decrease those stress levels, perhaps I will accelerate a bit again, but there's no guarantee that I'll be able to do that, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, so big ramble, effectively to say, Halloween was okay, restful, but not necessarily health benefiting outside of de-stress. I think that physically it wasn't good for me in terms of like musculoskeletal postural stuff, but nervous system wise, that relaxing and doing very little probably has assisted to some extent. So that brings us to today, 10 minutes in, even though I've said about today several times. My dailies today are going to be my normal ones, but I'm going to try to do a few overcoming isometrics. I think they're overcomings, not yieldings, because theoretically that'll add a little bit of extra stress in to my nervous system, but in a positive way, hopefully. We're going to see, and I'm going to see how it feels to do, and then if need be, I'm going to stop. As I said, it's very intuitive what I'm doing today, outside of those daily normals and a bit of kung fu. So pretty much I'm hoping that overcoming isometrics might help overcome elements of the chronic fatigue a little more, because it is short bursts of max strength exertion, which means sending signals really hard and really far, big signal, go brr, make muscles go brr. And with my research results, hypothesis, speculation, etc., I'm currently under the assumption that it is nervous system related that is my main fatigue issue. And so if I can get my body used to sending strong signals without necessarily tiring out, that'd be great. So using overcoming isometrics specifically to target my nervous system rather than muscular growth is going to mean hold for not as long. So when I was doing that sort of thing for muscular strength, I'll be doing it for sort of 6 seconds, right? I'll probably be doing it for 2 to 3 maybe as a starting point and see how it feels. And I'm probably not going to be doing it for reps to start with. It's going to be, okay, do this both sides, where if it's a one-sided thing, if it's using both, then it's just the one. And I'm going to need to make sure to do it both upper body, lower body, but not necessarily on the same day. So today I'm going to try arms for it, and then another day, if that's not too bad, I'm going to do legs. It's a bit risky doing it today because I do have work later, as I've said, and if it does cause a bad feedback fatigue loop thing, work is going to be hell and really difficult. But I'm confident enough that I can recognize when I've hit that point for the most part with this specific type of training. I think if I went for a run, I could probably, if I wasn't tired in other reasons like cardiovascularly or muscularly, I probably would be able to overdo it and overtrain, so to speak. But with this type of training, I think it's going to be similar to when I get like that adrenaline shot of someone's just pulled out in front of me in the car and I don't want to hit them. That sort of jolt. I think if I get to that level of intensity and sensation, it's probably a sign I have to stop, because that sort of thing will trigger the fatigue in me. Depending on how strongly it is, depends on the level of trigger, so to speak. But yeah, these are things that I have learned over the last 2.5 to 3 years-ish. I'm not keeping complete tabs on the timeline, but that sounds about right to me. Yeah, so wish me luck. Hopefully it goes well. Then other things to talk about. There's not a lot else currently in the fitnessy space for me to discuss, because that's currently where I am, and I'm pretty sure I discussed the rest of sort of relevant stuff in the one that didn't upload. So I guess other things are my attempted rehabby stuff for my shoulder seems to be working. My toe, which is crossover toe, what I'm trying with it seems to be working in terms of taping, but the issue is the tape comes off, and also I will eventually run out of tape, and I don't want to just keep buying more and then getting strips and taping it up, etc. I do think that taping and then using my foot in that taped position is going to cause longer term structural change, meaning I won't necessarily need to tape forever, but I think I will run out of tape before I hit that point. So I do still intend to make sort of a homemade splint type thing for it, using clay and maybe glue, and maybe like oven bake clay or salt dough stuff. There's lots of options that could potentially work, and I have an idea of what it's going to look like because I've broken a couple fingers, so I have a finger splint somewhere. So I'm going to base it off of that, because you can still bend your finger like that in the finger splint, but you couldn't bend it like that. So I'm going to try and do the same sort of thing where the toe will still be able to bend and flex, but only at that specific point. So it's going to be slightly straighter, because currently it's curved, like this is the toe, so it comes up straight and then curves round at the side, right? And then because it curves around at the side and it twists, and I think it's twisting because it's curved, then it starts to move further over and cross over the other toe. So if I can stop that initial curve, that might stop the twist. If I stop the twist, it's going to be less able to cross over. Unfortunately, the clay that I have is air hardening, and it was very hard, so I added water and let it soak in, and I added a little bit more and let it soak in, and now it's too wet for me to actually shape it properly, so I need to wait for it to dry a little more. And that's okay, but also a delay. So I'm going to keep using the tape until then. I'm hoping the tape that I currently have on is going to last all night, because I have my toe socks on. Ta-da! Which should hopefully help hold the tape in place. Currently, oh, I can't feel that bit of tape. Oh dear, that's probably not good. But there is definitely, oh no, there it is. Yes. Yeah, so currently the tape's still in place. Obviously Kung Fu, there's a lot of twisty stuff and whatnot. It might cause it to move and shift a bit, but that like tension, it's very gentle tension, should stay, hopefully. One way to find out, I suppose. Because I don't have any more tape with me. That's a lie. I think I have 2 pieces of tape. One of which is very crinkled, and then the other one is hidden. But yeah. So overall, that sort of rehabby stuff is working slowly. Still slowly. But I'm definitely confident I'm on the right track now. With my plan to fix the feet, then the knees, then the hips, then the back, then the shoulders, neck, head, etc. Yeah, as I don't know if I've mentioned it on here, but I've definitely mentioned it in person to someone or some people, that I think the toe being all twisty is what is exacerbating my knee, because I fixed the knee problem and the toe was twisty, and the twisty got worse, but the knee was better. Now I'm undoing the twisty, the knee's getting worse, and I think it's because they're linked. As the twist goes, that puts the knee in a different position, and then the knee needs to get used to being in that position whilst the toe's untwisted, if that makes sense. But yeah, overall, good work on the rehab, especially in the physical side. The chronic fatigue improvement has slowed, as I said, but that's okay. I say slowed, it's kind of plateaued at the minute, but then I think that as I continue to get back into a bit of a rhythm, because I've not got any more long trips planned, I've got one more like daytime activity ready to go planned this year, and then after that, all my current existing plans are like afternoon stuff. There will be other longer trips next year, I'm sure, but if I can get back into that sort of routine, then good. That's why there's 2 this year, because there's one on Monday, building the bonfire. Yeah, and then I've given out my Christmas list, which feels a bit odd because it's not even bonfire night yet, and I usually get people's Christmas presents during summer if I have good ideas of what to get them, which so far I haven't really, though I am intending to go Christmas shopping with one of my friends, so hopefully looking around I'll find some things, but yeah, I've given that to my mother as she asked for it, and so hopefully I'll get some cool stuff from there. Some of it's super expensive, some of it is less expensive, and so depending on what I get, most of it's like fitnessy, rehabby stuff related, if not all of it. I don't remember specifically everything that's on there, but I know that I've got a rope flow heavy rope on there. I've got like club and mace bells on there. I've got a book, but I've got so many books that I need to read anyway. And that's part of the topic of the previous vlog. So once you've watched this one, it'll probably be the next one that gets uploaded, or maybe it'll be uploaded moments before this one, perhaps. Go have a look if you're interested in books, because I talk about at least 3, probably 4. So that should hopefully help, depending on what I get, depends on how I can adjust what I'm doing to suit the new equipment. And potentially I might sell or give away some of my old equipment because I won't need it. Because say I get a club or mace bell, for example, I don't think I'd need all of the kettlebells that I currently have, because I've currently got 4. I think, depending on sort of what I get, I'd probably be able to get rid of either one or both of the 4s or the 6. Definitely keeping the 20, but we'll see. Yeah. Then, oh man, I thought something else that I was going to say, but I don't remember it now. It was non-fitness related. I remember that much. Never mind. I guess I'll leave on this. As I said before, in a previous vlog, I've done some foraging now. I've still only done the one forage. I think that's the correct use of the term. I foraged once. But I've eaten one of the things that I foraged. Wow! I think that was on Wednesday, probably, maybe. It was a slow berry, and it tasted kind of like pumpkin smell, which is actually not too bad. I was informed it would probably taste bad, but it didn't, so I'm happy about that. I've not eaten any of the other stuff, because I also got some hawthorn, I think. Haven't eaten any of those, don't know how they're going to taste, but whatever. I'm still deciding on what to do with the rest of them, because they have big old pips and stuff, so I might eat them. I might like make a smoothie. Apparently that's the thing you can do, but then the pips have to go somewhere, so do I need to like crush them, then put them in the thing for a smoothie to get the pips out, or do you just blend it and then filter it? I don't know. Like I swear those pips would probably dent the blades on a blender or something, which doesn't sound great, but whatever. Yeah, there are definitely other things that I want to discuss, but I can't think of them right now. And looking at the time, I had better get a wiggle on to make sure that I get all my dailies done and still have a bit of time for Kung Fu. If I'm lucky, I'll get all that done along with my overcoming isometric stuff, and potentially get a chance to go and briefly see my grandparents before I head to work. So, we'll see. But regardless, I will catch you cats on the flip flop.